Janelle, Lisa, welcome to the Novel Ventures podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you two help run She Supply. For someone who's never heard of that org, what is a elevator pitch or 30,000 foot view of what y'all do?
Well, I'll jump in.
Yeah.
She Supply, we started about, I guess it's going to be 9 years ago, almost 10 now. And our idea was to provide feminine hygiene products for women in need, looking at the concept of period poverty, which in 2016, I'm certain I'd never heard of. And that's really how we started. And we work with agencies that already work with women and provide just simple pads, tampons, when we have them, bras and panties to women who are unfortunate and don't have access to those or don't have the resources to purchase those things, instead are buying food and clothing for their children and all that.
Yeah. And you said in 2016, that term wasn't even on your radar. You didn't know what it meant.
It was not. It started, our chair at the time, it actually started as a group of women who were sending all their kids off to college. I had a daughter who was a senior in high school. She was going to be a freshman, and we all had freshmen going to some college or another. And this lady, Kathy Meyer, who was our original chair, had been on a choir trip where she was chaperoning, and a lady she was sitting with, another chaperone, had just read about period poverty. So they both decided during this trip that they wanted to do something more significant than just a one-time donation drive where we, meet with our reading club or our wine club and get a bunch of products. And so we decided, our kids are going to college and we have all this free time. Let's start a nonprofit. So that's really how it started, really a conversation among two women, and then inviting two more women and three more women. And that's really how we started. Very grassroots, very small, but wanted to be something more significant than just doing something one time.
Yeah. And what do you think motivated y'all to have the consistency and continue doing something instead of doing something one-off?
I would say that not knowing about period poverty and then meeting the need, we could not believe how many people needed us. We couldn't believe how many people reached out to us. We couldn't believe how the space really didn't have anybody. Of all places, Dallas-Fort Worth has a lot of things, but they didn't have anything like this when we first started. Some at the college level, where they would meet the needs of their food pantries there, but on much smaller levels. So really, I think we started this and started disseminating, and people kept asking, and it really kind of organically grew. The more people we told, the more people who were interested. At that time, our state still had a luxury tax on feminine hygiene products, and that really stirred people up, and we talked about that. So we had support from people we never thought we'd have support from, our husbands, and, it wasn't just a thing driven by women. Everybody was interested, and we got so much support and had such a big ask. And now we're faced with, we've grown and grown, and there's still such a tremendous need.
So what were some of those first dominoes that fell? You said you just started small and then things slowly built from there. What did it look like to start small?
It looked painful. Who knows how to do a nonprofit if you've never done that? I'm a psychiatrist by trade, so that's not my specialty. I think the lessons learned in the first years were we had to find the right demographic to disperse the products to. And we realized that we weren't going to be standing on street corners or on the side of the highway giving out feminine hygiene products. Wasn't safe, wasn't really the look that we were trying to achieve. But more importantly, we realized we had to, one, find agencies that were already working with women. We didn't have to reinvent the wheel there. And then when we found those agencies, we had to educate them that if you ask for it, we'll bring it to the extent that we have it, but don't dole out one tampon or one pad at a time. We package them based on information and statistics about how many products were used in a month. And so we tried to package them in that format. And then we found out they were breaking up packages and just giving people one tampon or one pad. And it is humiliating and shaming to have to ask for that kind of product in the first place. And
Mm,
so the first few years were let's educate people about what this is. Let's remind them that if we have taken you on as a partner agency, then we will provide the product if you just ask us. And then finding those partner agencies that would distribute them, that were working with women already facing forward facing to women and young girls. So those were that was the first 2 years were a challenge. We still the first year distributed 1,200 products and then 18,000 the second year. And then it just grew. I know it would, the second year we're like, oh, we can't keep up with this. And then during the pandemic, we had some of our best years. And by then we had a reputation in North Texas, and a reputation in our community that we served those women.
hmm. Yeah. What word did you use specifically when you said, because you just said challenge. What was it? Like painful? And you said to start?
It was painful because we didn't, first of all, running a nonprofit and how do you get the funds? So it was one thing when we were just let's have a wine party or a book club or whatever. And but the grant writing, I was one of the first grant writers. I'm not a grant writer. I became
Mm.
one. And really trying to answer all the questions just in terms of grant writing, trying to make sure that we had enough products, trying to make sure that there was pass through. I mean, I have been on other nonprofits before, so I know that if you have a product, you want to make sure that the intended audience is receiving the product. So making sure that if we had a partner agency, they were a good partner. And if we gave them product, they didn't just hold it back and make their decision about how to disseminate it. They disseminated it to anybody who needed it that came through their doors. And so that
Mm.
was, trying to navigate those relationships. And I think part of it was that these products were not readily available. They're not things that are typically in food pantries. They're the least donated items, at least in this region.
Oh,
And I think
wow.
people were fearful that if they disseminated all of them or distributed them, they wouldn't get any more. And so that was the biggest challenge. And then, now the challenge is how do we keep up with the need and the request? Because I think often people think we're way bigger than we are, which is kind of
Yeah,
a
they
cool
do.
problem to have
Yeah,
in
that's
some
a
circles.
compliment.
So.
Yeah. Janelle, are you saying something to that?
They do sometimes I'll receive emails when I check the info account and it'll be someone from Florida or another state emailing. And so I have to tell them, we're just North Texas.
Mhm.
And then I'll try to, we try to help them find something in their area. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Lisa, that point you made about them, what I heard you say is organizations, people handing it out for you, were worried that they were not going to get any more of these in the
Hmm.
future.
And that's been the case. I mean, often they would get a distribution maybe from, maybe APS or Kimberly Clark, or it would donate something to them. And then they wouldn't get any more products. And people wanted the products. So they were trying to just break up the products that we'd already broken up, to distribute them because they never had enough. And that's the situation now. No matter how
Hmm.
much we donate, there's never enough because
Mm.
people tell their friends and then they know to go to certain agencies, like food pantries and such to get things. Schools hear about us and the requests are, we have more requests than we could ever fully honor. So we honor our partner agencies first, and we have 20 of those. And then we do one-offs and we've just been tremendously blessed to often get product that we weren't expecting. We've gotten grants that we didn't even apply for. I mean, I think we are well loved in our community that we even have people writing grants for us on our behalf. And then, I mean, who has that happen? That wasn't happening the first few
I've
years.
literally
So
never heard of that. Yeah.
yeah,
We
it
asked for
really is.
what you
People
didn't
are
want.
passionate about it.
That is so
No.
great. Yeah. And to the point you made about things being difficult at the start, that resonated. We're at Novel, we're working on a food rescue project, and I've told multiple people that it's going to be a disaster for the first 6 months.
Hmm.
And we should just assume that. And at some point we'll get through it and we'll learn all the lessons. But yeah, at the start it's
I
rough.
think you embrace the disaster
Hmm.
and just
Mm.
say, okay, what are the lessons learned? How do we develop best practices? It's not a failure if we can really pull something from it that we learned and we just
Yeah.
support each other and we're like, okay, so we won't do that again, but we might do this
Mhm.
part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I think that's great. And so for the two of you, just from like a personal perspective, what has it been like to go from the start of this journey to where you're at? Is there anything that you've learned about helping people or yourself along the way?
I guess I could start with that. So I have been with She Supply for a little over a year. I'm one of the newer board members, and I found them by just simply Googling, I think like period products in Dallas. And then She Supply popped up, and I was like, oh, what's this? And so at my job, we did a huge fundraiser for them. And it was about a year later, and I was just like, I don't know, there was just something about She Supply, and it just really touched me, and I love the mission of it. And I never thought about period poverty. You think about food poverty, but you don't think about period poverty. And as a female, I don't know why that never, dawned on me to think about. So then I sent them an email and I said, hey, I would like to get more involved. And then we had a conversation, and then I joined the board, and it's been rewarding and definitely very educational, and learning more about the areas, the different school systems, who really needs the product. So it's been
Hmm.
a great educational journey, just even for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Learning about an area and a need that you didn't know
Hmm.
existed and where specifically the need
Yeah.
was.
And I never thought about the fact that there's some women and girls, and when they don't have product, they can't go to work, they can't go to school. And it was
Mm.
just something that I never really thought about. So then after having She Supply come in, they gave a presentation, the ladies, and then we learned more. And then I started looking more on their website and learning. And it's something everybody needs to know when it comes to all demographics, even men. You don't think about it as a man, and especially if you don't have another female in your household. So I think it's something where in the past it's more of a faux pas to talk about, your monthly cycle. And for me now, that kind of opened my eyes to be like, oh, period positivity. I'm gonna take my tampon and walk to the bathroom, no shame. You don't think about that because it's always something that's hidden. So that's one thing I really like about She Supply. And then I've noticed too, now in the past, couple of years, that it's not something hidden, and it's becoming more and more recognized, and a need that women and young girls have in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the Padres game the other night with some friends, and the guys, we were all talking about period positivity and
Yeah.
poverty. That's not true. I
No, it's
didn't know the word period poverty existed before I read it
Yeah.
on. Right.
And you don't think about it, because if you're in a situation of need and you have this amount of dollars, you're going to buy food over period products,
Yeah.
of course.
you know? And that's something people really don't think about. So it's great that we're able to get out there and educate. And then the more and more people that get involved with She Supply, they start telling their friends and their coworkers. And,
Hmm.
it's a great thing. So
Hmm.
hopefully one day, we'll be even bigger. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I think some of what you're saying speaks to your mission of helping give people dignity,
Hmm.
or better said, to recognize the dignity they have,
Hmm.
Yes.
and that it's really easy, especially as like in the Western world or as Americans, to think only on, okay, to your point, oh, you need food? Okay, well, a lot food, it'll
Hmm.
get delivered to you. You might not interact with a single person, but you'll have your food,
Hmm.
which does feed a need, does meet a specific need, but it leaves open this big gaping hole of recognizing that that person has dignity.
Yes.
Right. And I think about, it seems simple to think that a simple, giving somebody a feminine hygiene product or enough to last for a month can empower a woman. We think about education, which 100% empowers women. So, young girls who don't have products don't go to school. One third of young girls who
Mhm.
do not
Mm,
have access to products miss school every month,
wow.
an average of about 5 days. One third of women who don't have product end up missing work. But even more importantly, I think about the young girls, the women that are trying out for volleyball or for
Mhm.
cheerleading or who are interviewing for a job. If you don't have to worry about having an accident, it does empower you. It does create a sense of dignity and confidence to walk into whatever the event is, whether it's a tryout or a job interview, with having one less worry. And so, something as small as a box of tampons or a box of pads helps someone to achieve something greater than the initial mission.
Oh, yeah. And I think to your point about empowerment, I've never been a teenage girl or a woman at all, but I think having a healthy view of self, of who I am, and
100%.
having a stable view of it is an incredibly empowering thing. Often more so than having a full stomach or, you know, having financial security is less important than having a really good view of who I am.
If we can provide this product, then I always say one doesn't have to mutually exclude the other. If this is our
Mm,
singular focus and we are not taking on all other things, but we can provide this one thing for women monthly, then other people can continue to do the things with food and clothing
Mhm.
and access to education and financial literacy and those kinds of things that we can all come together and partner. We all have our place that we feel passionate about, and we can partner in that. And you'd asked a question a few minutes ago, and I just want to tell you a story. So,
yeah, please.
I feel like my daughter is my biggest champion. She's in medical school now, and she's getting her master's in public health, and she's this
Oh,
very dynamic. She's going to solve all the world's problems. And when we first started this, when she was 17, getting ready to go to college, and she was working at my office, and there was a young lady in the bathroom who my daughter walked in with her little makeup bag of product because in our house you could put your products in your makeup bag. You always had it when you in your backpack or whatever. And this young girl asked her if she could borrow a product. And of course she just, because that's the kid she is, of course she let her borrow. She gave her the whole bag because she could get more at home. But it really resonated with me how that one thing changed whatever for that girl.
Mhm.
Who knows who that girl is and what happened from there, but just that one kind act. I mean, you don't find products in bathrooms anymore. And they used to be a quarter. Now they're not even there. There are no dispensers. And
mm,
if you're a young girl and you get in there and you don't have anything, then you do what you do in a case of emergency and use toilet paper.
Yeah.
But that really resonated to me, like we are doing something important. And we don't have to know all the people that we touch, but we're touching people. And, hopefully this then allows them to go to the food pantry and also get their bellies full because we've been able to provide the food
mhm,
pantry
mhm.
with feminine hygiene products when everybody else is thought to bring canned goods. And neither one is wrong.
Yeah.
I need people to be well fed. They think better. They that empowers them for sure. But if we can provide this other thing that is not always on front of mind, then here we are partnering with somebody and other agencies that do that.
Hmm. I really like your point about making your daughter making that small decision to give and how that has way more leverage than we might imagine, which I know that my generation and the next one, a consistent point of frustration is that we feel like we don't have a lot of agency in the
Mhm.
world. I mean, we're bombarded with world news all the time. Today is a good example of that. I feel like that I don't know anyone who's like, yeah, I really have a role to play in
Mm,
this, Middle Eastern conflict. And
right.
I can do something about it. When I think that we get hit with that a lot, and it's very overwhelming, and we miss out on the fact that, or what we just don't know, is giving one person this one product or a few products might have changed their day, changed their week, been like a deciding point for them. Like it's a really high leverage thing for them, and then therefore for us as the person giving, it's high leverage because it gives us that greater sense of agency that like, oh, I can
Hmm.
make a difference in this big crazy world.
For sure.
What school is your daughter going to?
She graduated from OU and now she's at UTMB in her last year of medical school. And I think she's going to be a psychiatrist like her mama. So I'm excited about
Oh,
Yay.
that.
look at that. Yeah. I bet you're really displeased with that. Her really keeps you up at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. UT, is that in
It's
Austin
in
for medical
Galveston. It's University of
Uh,
Texas Medical Branch is the oldest medical school, but it's in Galveston. So she does affectionately call Galveston Galvatrez because I think she's tired of being on the island and the humidity and, it's maybe not the prettiest beach,
like Alcatraz, but
but
Galvatraz?
Galveston.
That also
Maybe she'll
sounds like a
come back
transformer.
to Dallas and work with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how Janelle said that politely as though you've never considered it, Lisa.
Yes.
Like,
Never
yeah,
once
that's
thought of that.
never
Never.
came to That's great. That is great. So today, like June 18th, what would y'all say is the most consistent hurdle for She Supply or for y'all getting accomplishing the objectives that you want to accomplish?
Hmm.
Hmm.
I think for me is trying to have more involvement in the community so then we can have a bigger impact. So my biggest hurdle right now is there's certain organizations and female-led organizations that I've been reaching out to and trying to build a partnership with them. Because for us, we rely on, not only grants, but also donations and donation drives. And it's such a wonderful thing when we'll open up the emails and somebody's like, hey, I just did a donation drive for you. Where can I bring the product? And it can just be, sometimes it's random, but it is
Yeah.
nice when we can partner with other female-led organizations because that's going to help us have a bigger impact and a bigger reach. So right now that's been my challenge this year is to make those connections and to try to have a different form of involvement.
Hmm.
I would say that the biggest challenge today is that, again, the need is greater than what we have,
Mm-hmm.
and we are a all volunteer,
Yes.
very small organization that serves a big community. And sometimes there's just not enough bandwidth to do all the things that we would like to do. And we don't have a storefront. So when people want to come drop products off, then we're having to navigate who can meet them at our storage
Mm-hmm.
facility or do a pickup or those kinds of things. So, I mean, they're good problems to have, but we're smaller than people and realize that we are because of the volume of distribution that we've been able to miraculously do. And we're a hard-working group of ladies and men who do this, but there are not that many of us. So I would say wanting people to become involved and realizing this isn't a storefront thing. You might not always get to sit in the air conditioning and do data entry and greet a customer or a client that might come in. It's a little bit dirtier than that. I mean, you're getting your hands dirty
Yeah.
and planting the garden for the nonprofit as opposed to sitting in the office and looking at the garden.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. A buddy sent me a great advertisement. I think it was from FedEx like 20 years ago, making fun of people with MBAs
mhm.
about how when when you ask them to do like a really simple task, they'll go, I don't know if you know this, but I have an MBA. And
That's useful.
yes, yes. I agree with you. Anyone who's run a small organization knows like when people ask, "Hey, what do you do on your team?" I'm like, "Well, technically everything." Like
Correct.
I literally tell them, "Have you ever watched like young kids play soccer?" Like, yes, that is what a small organization does. The ball
It's
goes far.
herding cats.
That's a
Yes.
good example. I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a very startup-y. That I told that to someone on our team, and he said, "Yeah, I know of an org called Bunchball. That is the technical term for it." They named their whole company after that. Janelle, something you said about getting people together,
Mhm.
I'm pulling from an old memory about the first time I heard about your org and the events that you were doing. Yeah, am I remembering right that y'all do kind of social events? That's kind of like a
Maybe
get ladies
packing
together to hang out.
events.
What?
We have packing events where we pack for our partners. Maybe that's what.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. So
People
we
love
just,
that.
yeah, it's great. Because everybody, you want to be hands-on. You don't want to just like donate. You want to
Mhm.
really see like
Yeah.
where does this go? Yeah. So we have packing events. We had one, what was it, Lisa, a couple months ago with one of the local churches,
Mhm.
and they all came out at our storage unit and spent a couple hours with us, and it was, it helps us too because as Lisa said, we're working board, so we're doing this in our free time. So having people come to help pack for our partners, so then it's all ready to go, and then we can schedule and then make our drop-offs.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
it's great. And then it's a way to really get to know people and they get to know us and, have hands-on interactions.
It allows the conversations to flow.
Hmm.
We have a for sure a couple of those every year. Um, And then I also do some things where we go out and just speak to schools just about young girls,
Hmm.
about just maturation talks and that kind of thing. But I would say that our packing parties are where people have the most fun. They want to do something hands on. We all want to. If you're part of an
Yeah.
organization and you're
Yeah.
helping others, you want to, yes, I want you to have my money, but I also want to do something else. And so if they're
Mhm.
helping us pack for a distribution I'm going to do at a school where I'm going to be talking, then I have a conversation, it might be some educators. And then they talk to their friends. So those are probably some of the most enjoyable things. Once we even had a band at one. We had the band come,
Oh,
and it was
fun.
in the evening because in Texas it's so hot. If you do it either, you have to do it either at dawn break or after dusk.
Yep.
And it was kind of fun. Everybody was there for a couple of hours, and we got a lot of things done. And a band played. It was cool.
That
Yeah.
is very cool. Yeah, making volunteering a social thing, I think is a huge deal. Yeah, there's not enough people who are socializing. I'm sure I'm speaking to the choir here and talking to a psychiatrist. You
Right.
probably know all
We
about
did.
that.
So it's good. And they
You
bring their
said,
kids and they bring, their grandparents. I mean, we really capture so many generations, and it's kind of neat to see a mother, a daughter, and a grandmother be at a packing event. So you've got
mm,
three generations there, and they're all working together, and it's cool to see them bonding, but then also we're interacting with them. So I think it's rewarding in ways you didn't anticipate.
yeah, I think that if I summarized anything I've done on like a volunteer or help people basis, I would use that exact phrase. It's more rewarding than I anticipated. Something you said a minute ago is Lisa, you also do talks about women's maturation.
So, because I'm a physician, I feel really strongly about a lot of things. And I had the opportunity, a school nurse heard about us. So she told one of her friends, and they do a maturation talk. So, fifth grade is I feel like it should start earlier than that, but fifth grade is the year that we talk to young girls and young boys about onset of menstrual cycles and how their bodies are changing and that kind of thing. So, for the last 8 years, I have done maturation talks at some of the elementary schools around here, sometimes even at middle schools. That's a fun ride too. And just this last year, a teacher, her daughter was at my very first maturation talk, and she was just finishing her first semester at college. I was like, oh my goodness, I've been doing this a long time. And so we usually will package things for them, and we get the smaller pads or the teen pads, and I just try to demystify the whole concept of a period. And they
Mm,
get to ask cool questions that they write on an index card so no one has to be embarrassed. And we just try to make it something they don't have to be ashamed of, and that they have accurate information about this. Because depending on who's giving them the information, I mean, they aren't likely to ask the school nurse, but I just make it kind of fun. I'm in my t-shirt and we're laughing and joking, and I'll remember some of the funny questions from previous years and kind of get them kicked off. And
yeah.
that's another rewarding. I mean, they'll ask the questions that all their friends are thinking but won't ask, but because they write them down, no one has to be embarrassed that it's a stupid question. And then
Mm,
they get solid, accurate information about how their body's changing, and that's okay.
mm, mm. And they get it from someone who's sitting in front of them.
Yes.
not just a Google search.
Right. Not just a book or watching the movie that, everybody has to watch and we all giggle about.
Yeah. I wasn't forced to watch this movie. I believe you. You say that.
So,
So looking back from, like you said, y'all have been going from 2016 to today. If there's someone who has a similar desire to, they see a need, they want to go help people, what would you tell that person? In effect, if you could go back in time and talk to 2016 Janelle or 2016 Lisa, what would you tell them?
I would say follow your passion and don't allow yourself to be easily discouraged. That
Mm,
if you're doing the right thing, it might be rocky on the path.
mm,
And that, talk to people who are already in the space a few years ahead of you, because the nonprofit world in general, but certainly in the space of we all want to help each other. But even within other nonprofits, say that work with women, we all want to support one another. And you'll find a body of support that you didn't expect. And you'll also
mm.
get some tips and you'll get leads and that kind of thing. So, I think the most important thing is if it's important enough to you to want to start this, then don't be discouraged if it's not the biggest and brightest thing 1 or 2 years in.
Yeah. I really like how specific you just were too. That at like year two. It's okay. Like, yeah, you've you've raised children, so I can
Hmm.
imagine, especially with our attention span being 0.1 second now,
Yes.
that like, oh, I've been doing this for 5 minutes and I don't see
I don't think
results.
I'm going to do this. This
Yeah.
job, this paper, this whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I fight that every day. Janelle, what would you say if you could go back? Might not be
Yeah.
2016.
Well, thank goodness they've paved the way for me. So, um, they're the experts. I'm just trying to, still learn. So I haven't had to face all of their hurdles. But being in the position on the board and being privy, to more information, you just think, oh, nonprofit, let me be involved. But there's so much behind the scenes when it comes to financial, um, involvement, capacity, who has capacity to do this and who has capacity to do, another aspect of, being involved in the organization. So for me, I remember one of our first meetings, and then I saw everything in the presentation. I was just like, okay, this is more than I thought about, to be honest. But, it's exciting. And I'm always a person where I say yes before I really know what I'm saying yes to. So far hasn't
Oh
gotten
yeah.
me into too much trouble. Uh, but, I like to learn and grow. And, you can't get discouraged because it's like Lisa said, we've tried things and okay, it didn't work, but we can take this and this worked, or what can we do better? So I see everything as trial and error, and just seeing where we can go and take it. And you know, I don't get discouraged too easily. I'll just say, okay, this didn't work. What can I do next time? It's the same as if you're at your job and there's a mistake that's been made. My first thing is, what can I do to cover up this mistake and fix this? And, what can I do to not make this mistake? And, it's the same thing of, hey, um, this, we tried something out, or I'm trying to reach people in other organizations, what's working, what's not working. So for me, it's just, keep on trying and learning and growing. And one day I'll be an expert, just like Lisa and the other ladies.
She is amazing because she says she's new to the board, but actually, we've known each other for over 3 years because she orchestrated an amazing, amazing drive at her work because she was part of a women's organization there. And I'm older, but she comes with all this energy and passion and, the good ideas of what she does in her business world. My business is a very different model
Hmm.
than corporate America. And so though you may feel like you're learning, she always says yes. And she is such an asset because she has just more energy than anybody should have. And we all need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Janelle, I feel like I need your attitude about making mistakes.
Yeah.
Because whenever I make a mistake, you can probably find me in the corner with like a paper bag, like trying
Exactly.
to not hyperventilate.
Mm.
I think I've learned I always call it sinking or swimming. Are you gonna sink or are you gonna swim?
Mm,
And I opt for swimming, a little competitive as well, which, people have found in some of my jobs. But it's to me it's the just yes attitude and just say yes and see where you can go. And I always have to remind myself that nobody's perfect, but that's where you can learn and grow and you can actually succeed. Because to me, without a mistake or sometimes without something working, you might not get to the next step. And I think that's for any job, corporate America, your personal life, even, us on the board. I think a lot of people on the board were like, okay, let's try this out. And then if it works, great. If, there's a little bit of an impact for us, what can we do maybe next time? So I don't
Mhm.
know. I
mm,
just always have it's okay to make a mistake and not feel bad about it because if you don't have a mistake, you're not going to do better. And that's
mm,
just, I don't know, that's just
mm.
how I always view things.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. There's
Yeah. Try not to
and
get
to your point
discouraged.
about just going,
Yeah,
if you never try, you don't know. Yeah, you
exactly.
don't know how to do it, but the only way to learn how to do it is to try and get
Right.
it wrong.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think that's one of the big downsides for social media is people don't get attention for saying, hey, the third iteration of my business is what worked.
Mhm.
They get attention for, I found this life hack and I do boom, 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 and I get these results. Half of the time, this is not even real.
Yeah.
But and even the other half of the time, it's like survivorship bias. You're like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
well, if I try anything, obviously I should be like immediately have a formula within a few months.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, that
Hmm.
face. That's what I like make on the inside. When I see
it's like,
someone go, let
Yeah.
me tell you about how I scaled my business immediately from one customer to 1,000.
I
Yeah,
love those videos. I'm like, don't get caught up in that. Keep on going. No.
no, no. A few hours north of me in LA, there are Airbnbs that people rent by the hour so
oh
they
my,
can film themselves in the Airbnb as though they live there.
oh my goodness.
Oh,
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting, but
Nothing
why?
surprises me.
Yeah, so it's just like you don't get clicks for if you're, trying to sell yourself as like a business guru.
Hmm.
Mhm.
No one's gonna buy your course, which they don't need, if you don't have a nice house.
Oh,
Exactly.
good gravy.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that concept, and
Yeah.
the psychiatrist in me is cringing.
Yes. Yes. The first problem is anyone who has to sell you a course, you have to ask why they have the time to sell you a course instead of just
Mhm.
starting their own business.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. Point being, to Janelle's point, we should lean into just
Mhm.
starting and learning from, like, we use the phrase scar tissue on our team. Like, we need to go get some
Mhm.
scar tissue on this. Like, we don't need to talk about it, we need to just start doing it.
My favorite thing to say to my clients is that, I'm child and adolescent boarded, so I see lots of young people who've now become young adults, and I remind their parents that we were a generation that raised our kids. They aren't sure, they haven't done the hard thing yet. So
Mm,
the first time they face the really hard thing, it can be devastating. And I
yeah.
always remind them, like, you're going to get on the other side of this. Probably not tomorrow, but maybe in a
Yeah.
month or two or in a year. And once you've done the hard thing, then you know that if I see another hard thing, I've done this once. I bet I can do it again. And it's just, I mean, it becomes muscle memory. You can do it. You don't start at 20 or 25 and you just have all this resilience. You get defeated. Sometimes you get knocked down. But maybe by the time you're 60, like me, you're like, okay, well, there's been a lot of hard things and I've been able to manage them all. So let's go.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't have like an academic psychiatric background. My anecdotal observation, at least for guys, is when we spend all of our time online,
Hmm.
can't build confidence for the real world. I and that's not me, trying to trash video games or things like that.
Hmm.
Those can be a great pastime, but as someone who's enjoyed that pastime, that TikTok, Instagram, etc., I cannot, no matter how good I get at those, I cannot gain confidence in the real world.
Hmm. Because you're not interacting with it.
Yeah, yeah, I know, even even if I was incredible at Call of
Mhm.
Duty, once I left my room, I would know that doesn't apply in
Right.
this
Hmm.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Almost
doesn't.
never.
What'd you say?
Almost never.
Almost never. Yeah, yeah. And so I think that's a big thing in the back. I think a lot of guys have that in the back of their head. They're like, oh man, I'm not. I like. I don't know if I have what it takes because I haven't really done a lot of stuff outside in the real world.
Just keep living
Mm, yeah.
outside of your bedroom.
Yes. Outside. Yeah. I try not to say the phrase touch grass to a lot of people
Uh-huh.
because it can sound more critical than it really
Right.
is.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I feel that often as someone who spent most of his life indoors. That
Hmm.
doesn't help being in Dallas though, to your point.
I
I feel
know.
like, yeah.
But they're still outdoor. We all watch them outdoor playing sports, so I figure it's their time to go. We've watched many, heat stroke baseball and football games. You all can go outside too.
I can't imagine playing. I remember that. Yeah, I remember watching those at night, but you're right.
I
Plenty
think you're
of.
not supposed to remember because it'd be traumatic otherwise. It's too hot.
Yeah, I've been gone just in long enough that I will kind of forget, and then I'll like connect in Dallas or visit, and I get off the plane and go, "Oh my gosh, I just
Like,
put on."
Yeah.
why do people live here?
Yeah, I feel like I just put on sweatpants and a
Yes.
sweatshirt at the same time. Yeah, I've told people that in when folks in Dallas realize they can have the same summer but better winters in Phoenix or Tampa,
Hmm.
they're just gonna be like, "I'll see you guys
Yeah.
later." Yeah,
Yeah.
I, I might be out of here. Yeah, don't want to be too critical though. Dallas, Dallas has great things.
It's a great
House is
city.
it
Yeah,
is. It has its moments.
I
Yeah.
imagine rent is also a little cheaper than here.
Yes.
Compared to some
Hey, babe.
places, I would say. Yeah. But it's
Yeah,
doubled since when I moved here, which is
yeah,
so funny. I moved here in 2012, and I always said, I would never live in Texas when I
yeah.
have been here this since
Yes.
2012. And it's so funny just to see the change where this bridge wasn't here, this building wasn't here, and even the cost of living is double what it was.
Hmm.
It's very interesting to see
I said I
the
wouldn't live in the
change.
South, so I don't know how
Yeah.
I'm here. Even 3 years later,
You know,
residency.
that's also the plot of Hotel California. Just,
Mm.
just drop that little seed. There is a way. I'll send you instructions on how to get out.
Yes.
Okay.
Detailed,
Yeah.
Hey,
step by step.
Yes. If you need to breadcrumb your way,
Yeah.
Texas.
That's so
Here's
funny.
here's how I started.
But I would like to, before we end, kind of do a little blurb of one of our events we're having this summer in case
Oh,
anybody who's
please.
listening is in, the Dallas surrounding areas and wants to get involved with us. So September 6th in Louisville, we are going to have a summer event called the Summer of She, and it is a packing event. So it's hands-on, but it's also donation drive based too. So you sign up for the event and then you hold a donation drive. And the day of the event, you bring all your products to the event. And it's a fun event. Last year was my first time at the event. We have games,
Mhm.
we have
If
different
it was,
prizes. And then one thing I really like about the event is each table it shows one of our partners and it tells you like what you need to pack. So I think it makes it more real to say, oh, this this bag of product is going to this other nonprofit because
Mhm.
you can do something but it's not, this makes it tangible so you can really know the area you're helping and the possible people that are going to that other organization to get the products. So it
Mhm.
shows you where where your donations are going and also hands-on activity and then also socializing and then you're meeting other people in the community that are getting involved and
Hmm.
making other connections. So if anybody wants to join Summer of She, just email us at info@shesupply.org and we have a whole packet for that. And then I've also created a very simple, easy step-by-step how to run your own donation drive. So it makes it
That's
really
cool.
easy for everybody.
Perfect.
That's really
Yeah, so it's
cool.
my little plug. Everybody get involved. Thank you.
Yeah. Send those same details, Janelle, to Christina,
Okay.
the
Okay.
gal who coordinated this, and she'll add it to the show notes.
Okay, great.
We can we can also probably throw that into a caption or two for our social media posts.
Oh,
That's great.
perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I've also learned when you say yes to things, you have to have no shame. And just be like, hey, please. I remember I set up donation drive boxes outside the elevators on all the floors where I worked. And so as I'm in the elevators, whoever's in the elevators with me, God bless them. And so I would say, are you going to donate to my cause? And
And she did.
these poor men, some men were older too. They they were like, we're not going to go to the store and buy that, but if you had a QR code, we could just order it online. And I said, oh, well, that's a good idea. So within
Yeah.
that day, there was a QR code up,
In
and
the
then they could
box.
just order product and it went to the office.
Man, that's great.
Yeah, having no shame helps you, get ideas and to see how you can have more involvement because, if you don't talk to people, you don't know.
Yeah, if you don't leave your comfort zone, there's
Yeah.
so many. All right, y'all. Unfortunately, I gotta hit
Yes.
stop on this. It was a great
Thank you so
conversation.
much.